Hello everyone. Today we're going to be working with Module 4, Lesson 32, Multi-Step Problems in the Real World. So for this lesson, we are going to be creating tables out of real-world problems and then transferring the information on the table to a graph. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go straight to the opening exercise, which is on page 379 of your student math book. Go ahead and open that now. We're going to start on this exercise. We're going to read it first, and then we're going to create a table out of the information. So it says, let me get my stuff ready. Zin is buying beverages for a party that comes in packs of 8. Let P be the number of packages Zin buys, and T be the total number of beverages, right? And that's where we got the titles of this table. So before we even start, I need you to write what's in red: x-axis, y-axis. This whole column is going to be the x-axis of our graph, and this whole column is going to be used for the y-axis of a graph, okay? Whatever is written in red in the following problems, I need you to write it into your math book, okay? So let P be the number of packages. This is where we got this title, number of packages, and then it gives us the same variable. And then it says T be the total number of beverages. So it gives us the title, total number of beverages. And then it says the equation T equals 8 times P can be used to calculate the total number of beverages when the number of packages is known. So we know the number of packages because they give it to us here. And so now we have to figure out how many beverages there are when they give us the number of packages, and they give us the equation. T equals 8 times P. Remember, when a number is next to a variable, when a coefficient is next to a variable, it means multiplication, okay? So let's start with the first one. We can plug in P, which is 0, into our equation. P times 0, right? I mean 8 beverages for every package. How many packages were given? 0. So 8 times 0 is 0. Let's do the next one. So there's 8 beverages in each package, right? What is the number of the packages that are being given? 1. 8 times 1 equals 8. This one, there are 8 beverages in each package, and they're giving us 2 packages. So if she gets 2 packages, how many beverages are there going to be all together? 16. And now if there's 3 packages and 8 beverages in each package, remember each package, the word each means multiplication, and that's what we're doing here. Right? 8 times 3 equals 24. And now we're going to the next one. If they give us 4 packages, and there's 8 in each package, we're multiplying 4 times 8 to give us the total amount of beverages, which is 32. And now 5 packages will have how many total beverages? 40. Right? So make sure you copy this onto your math book, and we'll move on to example 1. So example 1 should be on page 379 of your student math book. Go ahead and find it. I moved the table that we just filled out onto this slide so that I can show you the information from our table and how it can be moved onto a graph. First things first, set up your page. I want you to write in everything that is in red so that it'll help you better understand your graph. First, I need you to write the y-axis and the x-axis. This is where titles go for your graph. And then I need you to emphasize the y-axis and the x-axis with arrows. I give you the 0 on your graph, and make sure you write y-axis and x-axis so they can go with the column here, okay? So now, we know that 0 packages gives us 0 beverages. 1 package has 8 beverages in each after we plugged it in. 2 packages has 16 beverages. 3 has 24. 4 packages has 32, and 5 packages has 40. First things first, let's title our graphs, our axes, right? So we have an x-axis. We need to title it on our graph. So let's go ahead and title that. So the first one will be, our x-axis will be number of packages. Oops. Number of packages. I apologize for that being so messy, but it's right here, number of packages, okay? And then we can fill out that axis. We can fill out this section, okay? So I've already given you 0, you don't have to do anything else. The first one will be 1. The second one will be 2, right? What's next? 3. What's next? 4. After that is 5. And we can go to 6, but we're not going to need that section. We can go ahead and fill it in. And then the y-axis is total number of beverages. So number of beverages. So I'm going to put B for beverages, or I'm going to put bev. Number of beverages, right? And then we fill out this section. So I've already given you 0, right? Right here, this is 0. And then the next one is going to be 8, right? And then the next one is going to be 16. And the next one's going to be 24. And then 32. And then 40 is our last one, right? So we got to see how our graph looks when we find, when we plot it. So if this is 0, we start on our x, right? This is the x-axis. We start on our x. Do we move anywhere? Is the y telling us to go up or down certain amounts? How many times? 0. So our first dot should be right here. What about this one? We start on the x-axis on 1. And then the y-axis, which is this one, tells us to go up how many times? Or go up to what number? 8. 1 package, number of packages, holds 8 number of beverages. 8 beverages. 1 package has 8 beverages. So what about 2 packages? How many beverages will it have? 16. And we can see it on our table. 2 packages has 16 beverages, right? 2 packages, 16 beverages. What about the next one? 3 packages on our y-axis, right? 3 packages would have 24 beverages. So let's do that. 3 packages goes to 24 beverages. That would be our next dot. 24 beverages, and it's shown here. 3 packages, 24 beverages. What about 4 on our y-axis? 4 packages would have 32 beverages, and you can see it on our graph and on our table. 4 packages would have 32 beverages. And our last one, 5 packages would have 40 beverages. 5 packages, 40 beverages, right? And we see it here, 5 packages, 40 beverages. Now let's move on to our next example or exercise. We're not going to be doing example 2. We're going to be moving straight to our first exercise. So our next problem begins on page 380, exercises, number 1. That's the one we're working with. First things first, I need you to copy down on your student math book what you see in red. X-axis, y-axis, you start with the number 0, a section for the equation, y-axis for the title, X-axis for the title, and then I need you to emphasize the Y and the X-axis with arrows. Go ahead and do that now. Now, once you've done that, we can go back to the story problem and bring out information that'll help us create the graph and then help us create the table and then create our graph. So let's figure out what we can see. Each week, Quentin earns $30. If he saves this money, create a graph that shows the total amount of money Quentin has saved from week 1 to week 8, right? And then it says, write an equation that represents a relationship between the number of weeks Quentin has saved his money, W, and the total amount of money that he has saved, S, right? We're not going to worry about the independent variables. We're not going to worry about writing a sentence. All we're going to do is fill out the graph with the information given, fill out the table with the information given, and then create a graph for it, okay? So first things first, we get the number of weeks, W, from right here. Number of weeks Quentin has saved his money, W, right? The money saved is S. Money in dollars that he saved, S, right? So we need to create an equation to figure out S after we've been given the weeks. Now, have we been given the weeks? Yeah, weeks 1 through 8. So what do we have to write here? We already started with 0, 1, 2. Sorry, let me change the color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? 1 through 8, week 1 through 8, right? And now we have to write an equation so that we can plug these weeks in. It says each week Quentin earns $30. What does each tell us about the operation we're going to need in this problem? Well, each means multiply. So each week Quentin earns $30. We have to multiply each week by 30. So our equation would look like this: 30 times the week given to us, right? Remember, when a coefficient is next to a variable, it means multiplication. So now we can start filling this out. 30 times 0 equals 0, right? Whenever you multiply a number by 0, it's always going to equal 0. And now we have 1 week. 30 times 1 week. How much money has Quentin earned? $30. In 1 week, he has $30. And now 30 times 2 weeks, right? How much money is he going to have after 2 weeks? 30 times 2 is 60, right? And now it's 3 weeks. 30 times 3 weeks, right? Equals 90. So now he has $90 after the 3rd week. And now it's 4 weeks. So it's 30 times 4 equals $112, I believe. Yes. $112. Sorry, 120, not 112, $120. And then 30 times 5 weeks, right? I'm getting this number and I'm plugging it in my parentheses, equals 150. And then 30, how many weeks are we given? times 6 equals 180. And so on, right? 30 times 7 equals $210, right? So after the 7th week, Quentin will have made $210. And now the last one, 30 times 8 weeks equals $240, right? And now we have to be able to create a graph with this information. First things first, we need to title it. So what is the title of the x-axis? It's this whole column, the title of the weeks, number of weeks, right? So we have to write number of weeks. And then here, we would write the y-axis, money saved. I'm going to try my best. That looks like an H. Right? Which is represented by the variable S. And this is represented by the variable W. Right? So now we start with 0. We start right at the bottom on the x-axis, 0. Do we move up anything? What is the answer that we should be doing? 0. Right? Let me make a better dot. Try my best. And now, sorry, I forgot. We have to write our numbers in for our y-axis, for our x-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? We can only go up to 6, which is fine. We won't worry about these two numbers. This is up to the number we can do, right? And now we have to write our y-axis. Forgot to do that before I even started plotting. So these are the numbers that we're going to use to plot or to write our graph. These are the numbers. Our answers are what we're going to write on the y-axis. So our first number is 0. Already gave it to you. Our next number is 30. After that, it's 60. So I'm going to go to the next line, draw 60. After that, go to the next line. It's 90, right? After that, go to the next line, 120. After that, go to the next one, 150. I'm getting these numbers from our answers. So I'm right here, 150. After that, it's going to be 180. Right? And now we can plot. So for 1 week, let's start, or for 0 weeks, how much money has Quentin made? 0. 0 weeks, 0 money. For 1 week, how much money has Quentin made? How much money has Quentin made? 1 week has given us $30. So number of weeks, 1, money saved, 30, right? 2 weeks, number of weeks, 2, how much money saved? 60, and you can see it on the graph. 2 weeks, money made, 60, right? 3 weeks, money saved, 90. And you can see that on the graph as well. 3 weeks has given Quentin $90, right? What about 4 weeks? How much money will Quentin save? $120, and you see it here. 4 weeks, Quentin has saved $120. 5 weeks, how much money has Quentin saved? $150. Let's see if it's reflected on our graph. 5 weeks, would give us 150, right? And 6 weeks, which is our last one on our graph, 6 weeks would give us 180. Let's see if it's reflected. 6 weeks, go up all the way to 180. That would be our last dot. And I'm not doing a line because all I want to see is how the dots are represented on the graph by the information. So no, we're not connecting the dots. We're not putting a line. So for 0 weeks, he made $0. For 1 week, he made $30. For 2 weeks, he made $60. For 3 weeks, he made $90. 4 weeks, $120. 5 weeks, $150. 6 weeks, $180. Each one would be going up $30, okay? That is what our graph would look like. After we filled it out from the information given, this is what it would look like. Now we're on exercise number 2 on page 381. So we're gonna start off by setting up our table, our graph, and getting ready for our equation after we figure out what information we need, right? So go ahead and do that now on your student math book. Now we can start underlining the information we need. So it says Zoe is collecting books to donate. She started with 3 books and collects 2 more each week, right? She started with 3 books and collects 2 more each week. She is using the equation B equals 2W plus 3. So they already gave us an equation, and it makes sense. She started off with 3 books, right? The 3 books that she already had. And then she collects 2 more each week. Remember, each means multiplication. So she started off with 3, and you're adding 2 times the number of weeks, right? Here it says B is the total number of books collected, and W is the number of weeks she's been collecting books. That's where we get our title. W is the number of weeks on the x-axis. The total number of books is on the y-axis, right? We don't need to do the independent variable. We don't have to name the independent variable, but we do have to create a graph of how many books Zoe has collected when W, remember that's number of weeks, is less than 5. Okay, so how many weeks has she been collecting books? It says, create a graph to represent how many books Zoe has collected when W, number of weeks, is 5 or less. So we need to write the number 0 already given to us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? That's the number of weeks given to us. And now we also have the equation, so we can write that in. That's what we're gonna use to help us plug this in and figure out the total amount of books. So the equation B equals 2W, number of weeks, plus 3, right? Let me do that in another color. So it's gonna be 2 times how many weeks? 0. 2 times 0 plus 3, which equals 3, right? 2 times 0 is 0 plus 3 is 3. Now, 2 times 1, right, because that's week number 1, plus 3 equals 2 times 1 is 2 plus 3, 5. Right? Now it's 2 weeks. 2 books that she collects times 2 weeks plus the 3 that she already started with equals 2 times 2 is 4 plus 3, 7, right? So now it's 3 weeks, 2 books that she collects each week. We're given 3 weeks, plus 3, the 3 books she started with, equals 2 times 3 is 6, plus 3 is 9. The number 9. That's pretty messy, so let me try that one more time. 9, right? And now it's 4 weeks of collecting books. So 2 books times every week. How many weeks? 4. Plus the 3 that she started with equals 2 times 4 is 8, plus 3 is 11. And now they're giving us 5 weeks that she's collected books. So 2 books she collects every week, plus 5. Times 5, right? 2 books times the week, 5, plus the 3 books that she had started with equals 13, right? So now that we've plugged in our weeks onto how much she's collected, we can now put it on our graph. First things first, we have to fill out the X and the Y axis. Let's start with the X axis, right? What would be our title of our X axis? Number of weeks. So I'm gonna try my best. Number of weeks, right? It tells us right here, X axis. And so what are the numbers that I'm gonna put on the X axis? Well, I've already given you 0. The next number on the first line would be 1. And after that would be week 2, right? And then it would be week 3, week 4, and week 5, right? So now I need to use this information to fill out my y-axis, right? So what is the title of the y-axis? What should I write here? Well, total number of books. So I'm going to try my best. Total number of, I'm going to try my best here. Total number of books, right? So here it's the number of weeks, and I wrote them down, and now here's the total number of books. And I'm going to use the answers that I got after I use the equation for this side of my graph. So the first number is 0. The first number is 3, so I'm going to write 3 here. The next number is 5. The next number is 7. The next number is 9. Then it's 11. And the last number right up here is 13. Right? So now we can plot our dots. We start with on the x-axis on 0, right? Let me go ahead and get my color. We start on the x-axis on 0. And what was our answer? What was our answer? 3, right? So it would be 0, and we move up to 3. You know what? Let me get a different color. Our x-axis is 0, and we go to 3. Move up to 3, right? What's our next dot? We start on the x-axis on 1. And then how many total books did she collect on the first week? 5. We see it here. 1 week gives us 5 total books after we use the equation. How many books did she collect on the second week? 7. And it's reflected here. 2 weeks, she collected 7 books. 2 weeks, total number of books is 7. 3 weeks, total number of books is 9, and it's reflected here. 3 weeks, total number of books is 9. 4 weeks, Total number of books is what? 11. 4 weeks, you go all the way to number 11. So 4 weeks is 11. And now 5 weeks, where should we plot our dot? 5 weeks go up to 13, right? That's what your graph should look like. For 0 weeks, she started off with 3 books. She started off with 3 books, right? And then she collects 2 more each week. For 1 week, she got 5 books. It's reflected right here. For 2 weeks, she got 7 books. For 3 weeks, she got 9 books. For 4 weeks, she collected 11 books. And for 5 weeks, she collected 13 books. She is moving up every week. Now we are working on exercise 3 on page 381. First things first, I need you to set up your graph and your table. Make sure you write a section for your equation as well. So now that we've set up our table and our graph and we put 0 here, we can read the story problem and see what information we can use to create our equation. So it says, Eliana plans to visit the fair. She must pay $5 to enter the fairgrounds and an additional $3 per ride. Per, that is a clue for multiplication. $3 per ride, right? Let's keep going. Write an equation to show the relationship between R, the number of rides, right, and T, the total amount, the total cost in dollars. So R is our x-axis, the number of rides, and T, let me do that in another color. T is the total cost in dollars, which is our y-axis, total cost, right? And now we have to figure out how to make an equation. We have to figure out how to write an equation to help us solve this section. It says state variable, which variable is dependent and independent. Remember, we're not worrying about that. And then it says, then create a graph that models the equation. So first things first, we need to write how many rides she gets on. So I'm going to do that purple. We start with 0 rides. No rides have been given. And then 1 ride, 2 rides, 3, 4 rides, and 5 rides. Right? And now we need to figure out the equation. So it says she must pay $5 to enter the fairgrounds. That's a flat rate. That stays the same every time. But she has to pay $3 per, which is multiplication, per ride, right? So we can say 3, let's do that in another color, 3 times the number of rides, right? 3R plus the 5 that she has to pay to get in, right? So $3 per ride, so 3 times the number of rides plus the $5 she has to pay to get in, okay? So we can write here 3R plus 5, right? And now we know how many rides she's getting on, and we know what equation to plug it in, right? So let's go ahead and do that. 3, the number of rides is 0, plus 5, right? Which equals 3 times 0 is 0, plus 5, 5. 1 ride, 3 times 1 plus 5. 3 times 1 is 3 plus 5 is 8. What about $3 per ride? How many rides? 2 plus 5, right? $3 per ride times 2 rides, 6 plus 5 equals 11. What about 3 rides? Well, $3 times 3 rides, right? Plus the $5 they have to pay to get in, right? 3 times 3 is 9, plus 5, 14. And now 4 rides, right? 3 times 4, right? 3 times 4 rides plus the $5 equals 17. And now 5 rides. 3 times 5 rides, right? $3 per ride. There's 5 rides plus 5, 15. 3 times 5 is 15 plus the 5 extra dollars that she had to pay to get in is 20. Right? And now we need to title our X and Y axis. So what is our X axis? What is the title? Let me put the color. Number of rides, right? Which is R. And now we put the numbers. I already gave you 0, so this is 0, right in the corner. And then the first one is 1. The second one is 2, and you go on. 3 rides, 4 rides, 5 rides. You can put 6, but we're not gonna need it, right? And then we have to title the y-axis. So you're gonna use, first you title it total cost, right? So that's gonna be the title. Total cost after we use the equation, right? Which is represented by what variable? T. Right? And then we use our answers to write this side of our graph. So the first one is 5. The second one is 8. The next one is 11, right? What's the next one? 14. The next one is 17. And then the last one is 20. Right? And now we can plot our dots. Right? So on the x-axis, we start on 0. What number are we going to move to? So if she has written 0 rides, but she has to pay the $5 to get in, she's only spent $5, right? And now if she gets on 1 ride, how much money will she have to pay? 1 ride, $8. If she gets on 2 rides, right, number of rides, 2 rides, how much money is she going to have to pay? $11, and you see it right here. 2 rides, she'd have to pay $11 after you plug it in, right? 3 rides, if you plug it in, how much is she gonna have to pay? 3 rides, $14, right? 4 rides, she'd have to pay $17. Apologize for my dot. You can see the number right here, 17, right? And then 5 rides, she'd have to pay how much money? $20. So For 0 rides, she'd still have to pay the $5 to get in, right? For 1 ride, she'd have to pay $8. For 2 rides, she'd have to pay $11. For 3 rides, she'd have to pay $14. For 4 rides, she'd have to pay $17. For 5 rides, she'd have to pay $20, right? And you can see it here. 0 rides would give you $5. 1 ride would give you $8. 1 ride, $8. 2 rides would give you $11. She'd have to pay $11. 3 rides, $14. 3, $14. 4 rides, $17, right here. 5 rides, $20. 5 rides, $20. That's what your graph would look like using this equation. Now you're going to be using story problems, tables, and graphs in your homework. You're going to be doing the same thing. You're going to be finding information, creating an equation, filling in the graph, and then filling in the table, and then creating a graph to represent the information that you got in the table.